move away from fossil fuels. Delegates stress that this meeting is not a replacement for the UN COP process, but a complement to it. The global summit comes as conflict in the Middle East has driven up oil prices in recent weeks, underscoring the risks of fossil fuel dependence, putting energy security, renewables back in sharp focus. Well, we can speak now to Erin Sikorsky. She's the director of the Center for Climate and Security. She joins us now to kind of break down this climate conference there in Colombia. Tell us more about this conference. There are a lot of nations there. What are they actually hoping to achieve there?
Yeah, there are about 60 nations who have come together, both countries that currently produce fossil fuels and those that don't. And these are countries that are really frustrated with the slow pace of action at the UNFCCC process, where 2 years ago, countries agreed to move away from fossil fuels, but there hasn't been a lot of progress. So these are all countries that are on the same page and want to move more quickly. And I think there are really two reasons for that. One is the climate crisis is here and we're seeing the effects every day. It's getting worse all the time. We had the warmest March ever in the history of the United States just last month. And because we're seeing with the Iran crisis, as you mentioned, the price of oil and gas is through the roof, right? There is no resilience to be had with this dependence on fossil fuels. Countries that have invested in renewable energy, like Spain, like Denmark, have had much lower electricity prices in recent months. And so this group is getting together to see if they can make progress with folks who are on the same page.
60 nations there attending. Some notable nations not attending: the United States not there, China not there, the world's top two polluters. What do you think the impact of that is?
Yeah, of course, in an ideal world, you would have them at the table. But, we got to find ways for progress, even in a competitive geopolitical environment when countries aren't agreeing. And so this kind of what some folks are calling a mini-lateral effort, right, of like-minded nations, comparing notes, sharing best practices, pathways for moving forward. It's good progress to be had.
You mentioned the official United Nations process, the Conference of the Parties. We call them COP conferences. They take place every year. The last one was actually in Brazil. What does this kind of side meeting outside of that process say, do you think, about the place that those conferences have ended up in and the effectiveness of that entire process?
Yeah, I think it's complementary. I mean, look, you go back to when the Paris Agreement was first signed, and you see that we're in a much better place than we were when the agreement was signed. We've bent the curve away, but not fast enough. And so the COPs are important, but they're not sufficient. And so this kind of smaller group where you don't have spoilers of countries that don't want to see a transition from fossil fuels, they're not a part of it. I think it can help build coalitions. It can help, again, share best practices and move things in a positive direction. There are no fossil fuel lobbyists at the meeting in Santa Marta. Everyone there is committed to the same goal, and I think that can be a good way to complement the bigger meetings every year.
You mentioned the higher prices due to the Iran war of things like oil and gas, and there are many political leaders around the world right now at this moment who look at those prices and they say, this shouldn't be the time that the world should be moving away from oil. We should be drilling more to try to bring those costs down. What do you think the response is from the people there, and what's your response to that?
Yeah, well, that doesn't make economic sense right now. The way to get cheaper fuel prices and get cheaper electricity, get cheaper energy right now is to move toward renewables. Solar and wind are incredibly economically competitive and they are reliable. They do not have the negative effects that fossil fuels have in terms of driving climate change, in terms of pollution and health risks. They don't have the security risks that come along with fossil fuel use. So now is not the time to double down on drilling more oil, which is expensive and has all these secondary costs, but instead to think about building a new energy system that's more resilient and countries can be more self-sufficient in many ways.
Just briefly, Erin, about 20 seconds left here, but concretely, what are we expecting to come out of this kind of series of meetings taking place in Colombia?
Yeah, they're looking for new collaboration and shared pathways and kind of a map forward toward ending fossil fuels. And I think the meeting itself is a good outcome because it shows the commitment across countries from Canada to Australia to Brazil, Netherlands. It's really a lot of different people in one place.
Erin Sikorsky, the director of the Center for Climate and Security, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, staying in Colombia.